The Midi Hero was one of these projects that came about just as a result of me collecting all of the elements that went into it. I had gotten this monitor years ago at a Salvation Army in Lombard. It was $7, which is a couple bucks higher than I like to spend on a used item at Goodwill. It was like a rudimentary LCD flat panel. At the time, that technology was much more expensive. It had composite video input. That was an RCA jack, and that jack was bad. It's probably why I ended up getting it. So yeah, I had this monitor, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this thing, but I know at some point I'm going to find myself thinking, I wish I had a little monitor. So I bought it. It sat here for a long time, and then, as the pieces kept coming in. So taking a look at the Midi Hero, you'll notice it's got this like road case style chassis. That is for a video game called DJ Hero. Hey kids, get your skate on hip hop style with DJ Pro. Comes with a road case. It's got 4 detachable legs, and
hey kids, your Christmas fitting to be big and wet. Get down to a local record. Pick up your DJ Pro stock kit. DJ Pro stock kit comes with blunt wrap kit. Comes with 40-ounce stock kit. Comes with horse neck and sack weapon kit. Comes with DJ Pro road case. Comes with freaking through the loop stock kit. Lifetime Pro membership extra $59.95 on the side. Pick up that DJ Pro wrap. Make sure your Christmas be that really weather set. On the Christmas side, don't forget, slap your mammy DJ Pro stock kit with Pro road case.
I guess this is kind of like something similar to Guitar Hero, which I've played. We got a couple of those controllers years ago when that was all the rage. I got them really cheap. I modified it, and then I got it like a used game at GameStop. And I have to admit, it is pretty fun. Like that Parappa game on PlayStation 1, that was genius. That was really fun. The songs, the art, that was excellent. I love Parappa. But this DJ Hero thing, I've never seen it. I know it was popular for a minute, like it was a Christmas gift, and they had different units now. Like there's an Xbox One, then there's the one for the PS2 or PS3, I think it is. I think it's the PlayStation one. If you get one of those used, you can modify it, and you can have it go through USB, and you can use it with a computer with a program called Serato Scratch, which is really cool. It's more some noise guys have modified these things, so eventually I may end up, I don't know if I find one of these PlayStation 3 ones for a couple of bucks, but typically the pricing is all over the place. I've seen a couple PS3 DJ Heroes and they weren't cheap. As you can see, it does feature a Bluetooth keyboard and a wireless mouse that's USB. There's 2 automotive stereo speakers, built-in amplifier, and then has a subwoofer port for an external subwoofer. The monitor, I don't know what size of a monitor that is. It's like 4 or 5 inches. The whole thing resides in that road case with detachable legs. And taking a look on the inside, the first thing you'll notice is the large black box. This is the heart of the Midi Hero, which is a Dell Inspiron Xeno computer. Now, I purchased that computer for $3. It was $2.99 at a Salvation Army. Typically, any kind of technological thing or a musical instrument at this Salvation Army, they're just nuts. You're like $85 for like a Pentium 1 that's like gutted. So I'm guessing they must have thought that this was a photo printer. It's kind of an innocuous looking little device. It's a couple USBs, but there is a VGA port on it. I had no idea what it was. It was $2.99, and I did one of these, and then I ended up taking it with me. Boy, I'm glad I did. Now, after I reloaded Vista, like an idiot, I put Vista on it. I factory restored it, is what I did. It kept blue screening. And we would run this thing. I had it in the kitchen. It was my wife's email/recipe computer in the kitchen. And anytime about an hour into it would blue screen. So I looked it up. Everybody that purchased these things, and they weren't cheap. They were like $500-600 for the Xeno. It's a tiny little thing and poorly designed. It's got a micro fan. There's a little, like a radiator. It's got like a cooling tube that goes, no ports on it. It's like, this tiny little fan is supposed to, cool this entire device. It just doesn't cut the mustard. And so I had read all the forums, all sorts of folks just absolutely pulling their hair out on this, mismanufactured, poorly designed product. So eventually, I removed the top steel plate. There's a plate that takes up the entire top end of the unit. I removed that plate, and then I cut in a 5-volt fan that was purchased at Goodwill that was in a laptop cooler. So it's like a little plastic hollow tray. It has the fan in the middle of it with a cable going up to your USB. You set that on your lap and set your laptop on top of that, and this fan provides additional cooling for your laptop. So that fan was a 5-volt fan. It was a very slim unit. So I merely used a hole saw, cut a hole where I thought it kind of should go, and then screwed that fan in there, ran the power lines down to the USB power bus on the Xeno, and it ran like a champ. So if you are watching this and you have a Xeno or you know of someone, that's the only way that those things will run, is with an additional fan. I read of people even, mounting a desk fan and blasting it out. You have to remove that metal plate. So yeah, the Xeno at this point is running Windows 7. There's like 4 power supplies in there. I have one for the Xeno, one for the audio amplifier, one for the video monitor, and then one for the automotive looking one that's on the bottom is providing 12 volts. That's probably slaved off of the monitor. So that monitor power supply is also sending 12 volts to that automotive, which is a 5-volt 1 amp, which is powering the video converter box. Now I have, this monitor, I was telling you, that has an RCA, a little yellow plug, it's a female, and the computer is obviously VGA. So that video converter box cost me $11 off of eBay, and that had a 5-volt USB requirement, which I figure, I'm not going to slave the Xeno. I would have had to put an additional USB splitter on it, because it only has 2, and I'm using one for the MIDI and then one for the wireless mouse. So the easier way around that was to grab one of these power supplies. They're typically 50 cents, 49 cents, or $1 at Goodwill, and that's what I pay for those 12-volt power supplies too. Maybe $1.99, if you got lucky, you pay $99 for them. The amplifier unit is a 50 by 2 by 100. So the stereo 50 by 2, and then you have 100 watts going to the sub. It's a Class D amp that I paid. It wasn't much. I think it was 19. It was 20 bucks for the amp. And then we have the MIDI Man USB 2x2 MIDI interface. So you see I cut a port into the DJ Hero chassis just to let the thing breathe. The automotive speakers are pushing a little bit of bass. So I went ahead and cut a port in there, and that's where the additional VGA cable runs out, as we have a built-in monitor that is that's the composite going through the adapter. Really isn't the best resolution. It's enough, but when it comes down to reading the fine print, you really need to use an additional monitor. So that's a huge downfall on the Midi Hero is, well, it's got this built-in monitor, that's all fine and dandy, and if you know what you're doing, you'll be able to operate just fine with that. But if you need to read something, that's fine. You're better off hooking up an additional. The controls for the amp are mounted on the side. There's like the master volume, the stereo speaker volume, and then the sub has its own separate volume. There's a master power switch on the side, and then the port to let for the subwoofer frequency is on the side. On the front, there is additional ports if you want to add additional speakers. Instead of just the automotive ones, you can go out of those fronts. You can also shut those front speakers off. There is that VGA cable, there's the MIDI cable that runs off of the Midi Hero, the Midi Sport 2x2 MIDI port. I garbage picked that MIDI port in Downers Grove and Amnesty Day. All of it runs off of a single power cable, which is hardwired in there. The amplifier is fused, and looking at this video converter, like I said, I mean, I didn't really know. I knew it wasn't going to be the best, and to be honest with you, it was a little worse than I had hoped for, which is why I went and cut the additional unit in. I used some plumber's tape to secure the Midi Man, just in case I ever want to use it for something else. You can actually remove that, just kind of shimmy it out of there, and you're good to go. Also with the Xeno, I merely drilled 4 holes and ran some wire through, twisted that wire off and taped it down. So that's kind of a primitive method for mounting the Xeno, and let's be honest, I'm not exactly going to be going on the pro DJ tour with the Midi Hero. This is just for fun for our. So as far as the Xeno goes, the additional mod that I did for that, there's a power switch on the top of the Xeno to turn it on and off. So I just chopped in an additional cable coming out of the Xeno. That has a quick connect connector on it. So if I want to remove that Xeno Mini computer, disconnect the switch that's found here, and that's how you actually boot the computer up. There is a singular red switch, like a momentary contact switch, on the chassis for the Midi Hero, and that's how you boot it up. Actually, the main amount of time that went into this project was in playing around with the software. That was a lot of, downloading stuff, installing stuff, seeing what would work, seeing what I really like, because I didn't want to load it up. I only wanted to pretty much have what we wanted, what we were going to use. So I made shortcuts for everything inside of the Steinberg vsti software. So if you want to use one of these things, there is a folder with shortcuts. You can just grab whatever app you want with whatever preset, whatever patch is already preloaded, just to keep things simple. So if we do stumble upon a good combination for this type of noise performance, you can just label that, save it under VStack, and it'll come up right off the desktop, which is really handy. Now there is a power switch. There's additional small switch that I neglected to note. It's for the amplifier. And then taking a look here, you can see the, what is that? That's the audio port. That's the actual sub port with the cable coming out to run the monitor. And boy, that thing looks like it needs to be hosed down a little bit down there on the bottom side of the Midi Hero. So what do you think? This is a kind of like a goofy thing. Like I said, you very well could just use a laptop. We all know how I feel about that. This was basically a home for all this stuff to live, where if you did have a laptop, it would more than likely maybe fail from heat, and you would have to go through this process of obtaining all this stuff. As it is now, it's a plug-and-play device. Everything is there for when I need some unusual sound effects, space effects, or anything like that. All I have to do is plug the Midi Hero in. There is outputs on it. There is an audio output cable. I neglected to mention that. There's a line out that goes before the amp. So for recording this device, I have built-in monitor speakers, and then I have a line out as well. So it's pretty convenient. That computer doesn't go online, doesn't go on the internet. So it's pretty much there. It's going to live forever. Unlike if you had a laptop, it would more than likely get virus. Because that's what it seems to be the case, is people just can't resist taking the laptop in the bathroom, going on some free porn site, doing something they're not supposed to do with the laptop, infecting it, and then having the thing have to be, wiped and restored. So I don't think that's going to happen with the Midi Hero. The worst thing that's going to happen with the Midi Hero is we're going to be... Stay tuned for part 16. Oh no, 18. I'm going to get to that demo eventually. A couple more. We'll talk about the...
Eins, zwei, acht.